Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to another video by Ratchets and Wrenches, and today I'm going to show you how you can remove and replace your AC compressor clutch and bearing. And we're going to be doing this repair on this 2003 Ford Mustang GT with the 4.6 liter engine. Alright, here's a look at our engine bay, and there's our AC compressor down there. What we're going to do next is basically take off our serpentine belt, and then we're going to check that AC compressor clutch for pulley, for play. Also, we're going to check everything else because it's technically possible that the noise is coming from one of these other pulleys, and just the motion of the AC compressor clutch engaging and causing more drag makes the noise from other pulleys goes away, but that's unlikely. But nonetheless, we're going to check those. Okay, in order to take off this belt, we put our 3/8 ratchet inside this tensioner, turn it clockwise, and just slide our belt off. Okay, now with the belt off, we're going to just quickly try to test these pulleys for tensioner and a roller. And this is pretty good. These are pretty good bearings because I only replaced them less than a year ago, and they're still good. You know, what you want is that a nice firm spin on these pulleys, and that will mean that the bearing is still pretty good. If it spins really fast, or if you feel anything or you hear anything, then that means that bearing is going and you should probably replace it. Now we're going to raise the vehicle and go check our compressor pulley from underneath. Okay, it should go without saying. Lock your rear wheels and make sure you got your emergency parking brakes on and the car is in gear if it's manual, or in park if it's an automatic. Okay, here's a look at our AC compressor, and here's a look at our AC compressor pulley. And this portion of the front, this is your AC compressor clutch, and your bearing is actually inside of this AC compressor pulley. Now we're just going to spin this pulley, see if we can if you hear anything. Now I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's actually the scraping sound that we hear when the car is running and the clutch not engaged. Yeah, this AC compressor clutch is actually loose here, and it's not supposed to be this loose. Okay, next let's check for a play on the pulley side by just rocking it back and forth, and yeah, I can feel a little bit of play, but it's not excessive. You know, originally I thought the bearing inside this pulley was worn and there was excessive play, or that the noise was coming from the bearing itself, but now that we're down here, I'm actually pretty certain that it's the clutch. Okay, now as far as how we're going to hold this in place while we twist off that bolt is I'm just going to get my screwdriver, get it in here, and then get my ratchet with the 10mm. Hold the pulley with my left hand and then twist this 10mm bolt off. There we go. Yep, we got it loose. Okay, next we're going to slide this off, but go slow because there's going to be spaces between the clutch and the pulley. And actually, now that I think about it, we might have a problem with our spacers either being worn or broken. That's why there's not enough space between here. Well, actually no, because this is broken, so never mind. And you want to make sure you catch if anything falls out. Okay, here's our pulley. Here's a look at your clutch, and it looks like there's spacers in there, so we'll get them out if we go to install a new clutch, and yeah, we go from there. Okay, next, in order to take this pulley out, there's a snap ring here that I'll show you with my mirror in a bit. And we'll need a pair of snap ring pliers to get them out, okay? Alrighty, and here's a closer look at the snap ring that's in there. There we go. Here's our snap ring. Okay, now I believe we should be able to slide this off of here after we remove the snap ring, but this is on here really tight, so actually gonna spray this with some freeze off or PB blaster and let it sit for 10-15 minutes, then we're gonna come back and try it again. You know what, actually at first I'm gonna try some brake clean, see if I can clean this off. And still, this cannot budge this. So what we're gonna do next is actually, I know I usually advise against this, but in this case we don't have much of a choice. We're gonna wedge this pry bar behind it, and then we're gonna slightly pull on it, and then we're gonna rotate, pull on it, rotate, pull on it. That way, you know, it's not binding, and it's your best chance of getting it to come out evenly. Okay, so let's start. Alrighty, finally. Okay, and the way to take out this bearing is to basically hammer it out from here and out this side. And when it's time to put in the new bearing, it's going to go in the same way. Okay. Next, we're just going to put it on a couple of pieces of 2x4s. Next, we get a solid socket that's on the right size of the bearing, and then we'll just give it a couple of good whacks, and then there we go, free and clear. Alright, now so it's the next day and we got the parts we need. Here's our new bearing. You just want to make sure it's the same size as the old one, everything matches and it's a fit. So what we're going to do next is to put this back in our pulley, but first we're going to get some brake clean and some rags and thoroughly clean the inside of this. Also clean this contact surface as well, okay? Okay, now as far as how we're going to put this back in, well, I found an exact size socket that's the exact circumference of this bearing, and we're gonna just start it with this with the hammer method, but then I'm gonna use my bench vise to press it in all the way, because I rather use the vise than to hammer on this if I can help it. But you know, this is going in pretty easy, so if you don't have a vise, you can probably just get away with this. In fact, you know what? This is pretty safe. I'm just going to do it with this. There we go. All in there, and this pulley is spinning freely now. Alright, what we're going to do next is to get the spacers that's inside of our old compressor clutch, which is these three, as you can see. And we're going to put them in the one we're going to be using now. But make sure you get the spacers out of this one too if there's any still in there. Okay. Okay, and here's a look at our coil, and we're gonna wipe this down too before we put everything back on, okay? Okay, so next we'll install our pulley. Okay, now this pulley hasn't gone all the way. We haven't been able to press it in by hand all the way to expose that little ridge that we would put our C-clip in. So, I'm gonna find a way to tap this in the rest of the way. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of swing room here. So we're gonna have to improvise. First, I'm gonna try to put this handle over here and then tap it from, okay, yeah, that works, there we go. Alright, next we put on our C-clip. Watch your fingers. Probably a good idea to be using a screwdriver instead of your fingers, but there we go. Okay, next we install our new clutch. Make sure none of those spacers fall out as you're going to put this back in. Alright, and let's just test drive this quickly. Alright, great. No noise, nothing is catching. Alright, now next there's one more thing we need to check, and that's the space between your clutch and your pulley. And we're going to do that by some feeler gauges, but we're just going to run the screw down just to keep everything in place so that we get a good reading, okay? Okay, next it's time to do our measurement, and the spec for this is 0.014 thousandths of an inch to 0.03 thousandths of an inch. That's the distance you want between your clutch and your pulley. So I got my feeler gauge. This is the 0.014 thousandths of an inch. We're going to see if this fits through there, and it does. A little too easy, perhaps. So next we're going to get the 0.03 thousandths of an inch feeler gauge and test it for that with that. Alright, and here's 0.03. And as you can see, this one is also going in there rather a little easily. So what we're going to do is take this compressor clutch out. Okay, so after removing one of the spacers, now we can get 0.18 thousandths of an inch in there. And that's on the lower side of the spec, but you know, still within spec. So and what we're going to do next is to tighten this bolt, throw on our separate team belt, and test our AC compressor. Okay, and that's all there is to removing and replacing your AC compressor clutch and bearing. Just to point out though, if the only thing bad on your AC compressor is the AC compressor clutch, you can just replace that very easily. You just take off that 10mm bolt, slide it out, and slide it in a new one. Again, I had a hard time finding a clutch itself by itself, and that's why I went to the junkyard and got one. But you know, if you look around online, maybe you'll be able to find just the clutch by itself, and then if you can wait for it, just do that. Also make sure that if you buy a new clutch, it comes with new spacers, because as you saw, we had to do some adjusting, and you might have to add spacers. In our case, we had to take off spacers, but in your case, you might have to add spacers. So you want to make sure you get some spacers with your new AC clutch. Okay, so yeah, I hope this video helps people out there. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more like it. I'll see you next time.